Hello. Hello, I'm Cassie, and it is March 29th, 2024. And this is the Dream Big Today Noontime Nuggets. And I'm on the app, so I won't be able to see comments. I don't even know if I'm showing up, so I'm sure someone will tell me. This is my first time, and I'm really honored to be able to share. This group ministry reads through the Bible, the one-year Bible, every year, each year. This is what mine looks like. And we go through the daily readings and we share what God has impressed upon us, what He's highlighted for us to share with others. And we do this on the YouTube, Facebook, Dream Big Today group page, also in their app, Dream Big Today app, that you can search for on your phone. We do this at 8 a.m. Sunday through Saturday and Monday through Friday at noon. That's central timing. And so also if you have prayer, you can put it in the comments below. We have a community that writes it down and prays for you. And you don't need to give a lot of detail. God knows the situation, and we're happy to stand in prayer with you. And we love praises. So whatever God's doing in your life, please feel free to share with us. I hope I'm on. Okay, so like I said, I'm Cassie. I live in Minnesota, and I've lived here my whole life. Paul and I have been married for 30 years, and we have two boys, grown-up boys, Hezekiah and Caleb. Yes, you heard that right. Our first one's name is Hezekiah. We've been with Dream Big Today for over 3 years, and it has really changed our focus. And I'm really honored to be able to share what God has shared with me today. So today I want to talk about Psalms 70 and the urgency that David says his prayer. He says a couple times, come quickly, don't delay, please hurry. In other translations, he says, make haste, make haste. It's obviously an emergency for him. And it reminds me that our timing can be selfish, impulsive, reactive, very hurried, and God is never rushed by our urgency. God is outside and above urgency. God is outside and above our timing. He created time. 1 second is the same as 10 years. And as we grow to get to know Him more and His love for us and the promises He shares, we trust the timing that He has. So I kind of want to talk about that today. In our reading in Luke 8 today, it gave a great visual of this comparison between urgency and peace. And so Jesus is sleeping in the boat, and this huge storm comes up, and the disciples have experience with this raging storm at other times. And they're like, wake up, master, master, we're going to drown. And Jesus casually gets up, calms the storm, and then asks them about their faith. Have you ever felt that calm after an emergency? Like a washing of God's peace over you? The wonder that, oh wow, He did it. I should have trusted earlier. Or the gratitude of being out of that emergency. So last year I had a little incident where I felt like that. And in Minnesota, it's not uncommon for us to have very icy roads. It had rained the day before, it had snowed, it froze through the night, and I had an early morning errand I needed to run. So I was very cautious at first. We're all in rush hour. I was very cautious. And then on my way back, the sun was out. The roads were pretty clear, that I thought. At least they were clear of cars. And I hit a hill and an icy patch going 65 miles an hour. And I out loud said, "Oh Lord, help." And I turned my steering wheel toward my tail, just like my dad taught me, and straightened up. This isn't the first time it happened, but this is the first time that reaction happened with me. Oh Lord, help. I could have physically changed that day. My life could have taken a different turn. My spiritual life definitely took a different turn. In my amazement and my gratitude of that moment, I exited off the road, pulled over to the side, cried, and praised God for his mercy. My whole family could have changed that day. Sorry. And he guided my car. There were no other cars on the road. My truck took up both lanes, and I straightened right up. And that adrenaline you feel, I just pulled over and I thanked him. That was my calm. So our response should be praise. It reminds us of who God is, that he is our help and our protection and our provider. Thanking him for being available to us, listening to our pleas, guiding our lives, our paths. Thanking him for the results before he even answers our prayer. He's worthy of that praise before he answers us. So in this urgency, I was reminded that the boys, when they were probably, well, anytime growing up, you're always rushing kids along. Hurry up, we gotta get there. Paul and I learned that if we started earlier in getting them ready, we wouldn't be pushing them. And in a family meeting and talking to them about that, they understood that we needed to start earlier so that we were there on time. It wasn't such an urgent. Anytime there was an emergency, it wouldn't stop us from praying. I grew up with a lot of urgency in our family, that when something happened to a family member, we stopped everything and we went right away. And now I feel like our first response is to pray and wait for God to tell us what to do, which I'm very grateful for. And that's what the boys grew up with. So now, being empty nesters, about 3 years now, they have seen that. We remind them often that God is there with them. It's not him who turns away, it's us who turns away. And we both have texted them and reminded them of this promise that if you focus on him, he's with you. And that's a promise that they can take into adulthood in any situation that's going to happen, right? I have found this book to be really helpful if anyone has adult children. Praying Scriptures for Your Adult Children from Jody Burnt. She's from Focus on the Family. And in the table of contents, they have all kinds of situations that our kids get into. Whatever it is, it's in here. And it does tell a little personal story of her life, but it also gives prayer principle. And then in the back here, which I love, it gives the verses that help us and them what to pray to God, and we can put their name in there. Make it personal to you. The Bible is your letter from him. I love how Elizabeth says basic instruction before leaving earth. It is our love letter to us. It is our instruction manual. So that's been a good tool, and one that helps us not be anxious about our kids growing up, being on their own, not hearing from them for 2 days, and being thankful for the time we have for them. So when I'm anxious and I forget my priority, my urgency used to take over more often. And as I learn more about God's love for me, the comparison between my reaction and my response is, it's a constant lesson for me. And in that, I think of how many times I need to be reminded that my first action is prayer. My second is to trust him. David comes to God needy. He states, I am poor and needy. But then also he trusts him because he says, you are my help. David didn't have anyone else but God. Their relationship, God showed David that he was there, and David could depend on him. And in this short psalm, we see him go from panic to maybe cursing the people. and then wanting others to know the joy of his salvation, and then praising him, and then declaring that he's needy. We can do that. God is there for David, and God is there for us. So when we recognize that our panic or our urgency is ahead of what we know about God's promises, we should breathe, thank him, because there's so much that God can do in your gratefulness that can calm you, and he's there for you. So while we're waiting for his timing and his answer, we praise. So in being with the Dream Big today for the last 3 years, Paul and I have changed our focus in the morning. It's given us, what does he have for us in this, individually and as a couple and for our family. And with that, listening to the study and other people's perspective of what God has highlighted to them has changed how we see God speaking to us. And it's really exciting. And it's encouraging to keep going, to know that what's happening, as long as we're focused on him, it is part of his wisdom and his promise for us. So let the prayer happen first before the worry. Worry doesn't really get you anywhere. Being anxious in this emergency, it's common to feel like that. It's very normally human to feel like that, but God doesn't feel like that. So he doesn't move in our timing. But in our needy state, in our confession, in our want for others and for ourselves, in our hopes and dreams, asking his will in our life is something he wants from us. It's a pleasing aroma to God for us to need him, and we should walk knowing that he knows our heart, and he really wants us to know his heart. So for Good Friday, in our app, our 1-year Bible app, where it reads it to us, they had a Good Friday prayer, and I wanted to read it to you here. Jesus, I grieve that the torture and sorrow you endured on the cross was necessary to save humanity, because you didn't want us enslaved to fear, anxiety, or sin. You sacrificed yourself so that love could win. It's love that hung upon the cross and gave up everything to rescue us. It is finished, was a cry of victory, because you defeated everything that held us in captivity. Because of your sacrifice, we can experience intimacy with you forever. Thank you. Help us to know you more, to reach people with the hope found in you. In your name, we pray. Amen. So think about what Jesus maybe went through this week, most likely went through this week. There's a difference between our urgency that we feel and the intensity that Jesus felt. In Luke 22:42, it said, Jesus said, Father, if you are willing, please take this cup of suffering from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. It is never wrong to express our feelings to God. Jesus expressed his dread in what was coming. He also reaffirmed his commitment for God's will, which without that we would be separated from him forever. It is a Good Friday to know his urgency was for us. Is there a time you feel out of his reach? That he's not actually hearing you? That maybe he doesn't care? Or that your need is greater than how fast he's moving? Just put it to prayer. God will help your perspective. He will help you see his love. Get into his word. That's where you can read that. That's where you get to know that. So I want to thank you for being here with me today. And whether live or on replay, whichever, I'm praying that this encourages you in your walk with God, and that it prompts you to dig into his word, something that he has for you. He wants to share with you, and he's waiting for that time with you. So happy Easter, and God bless.